Okay, so guys, let us begin. Now, today's lecture will cover some more simple, basic concepts of Linux, as we have some more few concepts which is remaining. Once we finish that, we'll start with shell scripting. Okay, so firstly, let me log into EC2, right click, select git bash, and then let's go here to the instances. Let me select the instance here, VM3. Let's click on connect. I'll copy this. You'll have to firstly change the permissions of the file whenever you want to connect using ch mode. And then after, we will copy this SSH, go back here, paste it, and then yes, and clear. Fine. Now, what is that we are going to do is, we will take one small exercise of how to start the web servers. See, what is the difference between a web server and application server? Now, web servers, see, there are two things basically we need to have an idea about before I start off this activity. One, what is a web server? And two, what is a web server? And two, you should be having an idea about what is application server. Fine. I've already covered this in my Java classes for some of the students, but some of the students have not reached that syllabus yet. So let me cover that here. Now, whenever you're building an application, suppose that application is a static application. Static application, it means every time a user sends a request to the server will give the same response back. Like we see certain websites, www.xyz.com. Every time we enter this particular URL, all the users, whoever is entering this URL, they will get the same content every time. There is no, okay, content that has been delivered to the customer as per the customer's requirement. Correct? But if it is a banking application, I will log in, and when I check the balance, I can only see the balance of my account. When you log in, you can see the balance of your account. When someone else is logging in, he can check the balance of his account. Now, this is something dynamic application, which means the application is giving the data as per the user. But in case of static, that will not happen. You will just send a request, and based on the request, all you will get here is basically the same response back here. That is what you would be getting it. Is this clear, everyone? Yes. But in case of a dynamic application, you might have a login page, logout page. You log in and you can see your own data. When someone else logs in, he can see his own data. These are all dynamic applications. In order to build a static application and run that, we use web servers. Web servers are used for running your static applications. Correct? But if you're building a dynamic application, your requirement is to build a dynamic application, then web server cannot do that. We require application servers. Now, some of the web servers are HTTPD, okay, HTTPD. Then we have Nginx, Nginx. It is pronounced as Nginx, but we write it like this, Nginx. These servers, when you are installing it in your system, which means you want to build a static application. Okay, I can build only static application. But if you want to build login page, logout pages, and data to be served as per the user login, such things, if you want to do it, we require application servers. We have application servers like Tomcat, okay, which is very popular among Java developers. JBoss, which is another application server. We have Glassfish, which is another application server, right? If you're a .NET developer, the servers are again different, correct? So these servers, if you're using, means you want a dynamic application. Right now, we are not looking at dynamic application. Later stage of our DevOps course, we will look at how to deploy dynamic applications. For now, I want to just build one simple static web page. Okay, whenever I send a request to that web page, whether I send it, whether you send it, all of them will get the same response. So I want to do an activity of installing this HTTPD web server. And once I install this HTTPD web server, I want to make a request and basically get the static content from your server. This is what our today's task is. Did you all understand today's task? Yes. Did you understand the difference between static and dynamic applications now? Yes? Okay, online students, are you clear with this? Please tell me. Okay? Online students, yes? Okay, let's continue. So now first step, okay? In order to install your HTTPD server, we will use this package manager yum. Okay? So this already I have talked about it in my earlier lecture. Sudo yum install HTTPD y hyphen y. Why am I giving hyphen y? So I'm giving the confirmation, yes, you simply install that. Okay, that's it. The installation of HTTPD server is done. Fine, let's clear this. Now, once you have installed the server, we have to start the server. Okay, so to start the server now, if you want to start this particular server, all you need to do is, firstly, let's check the status of the server, and then we will start the server. Okay, so if I paste it, the server state is inactive, which means server is basically installed, but the server is not running. Okay, so I'll press Control C to come out of this, and then I will now type here sudo service httpd start. See, now what it does when I type this sudo service httpd start, it using something called as systemctl. We will also talk about systemctl because that's an interview question. Why systemctl is used? We'll talk about that. But now if I again check the status, what is it now? Which means the server is now running. Is this part clear, all of you? Yes? What is the status of the server? Active. This is running right now. Okay? Now once I basically install the server, start the server, by default, there is one web page which is already by default present and that is accessible. There is nothing, no code, nothing I need to write it, because right now we are not going to write any code. As a DevOps engineer, writing code is not my job. Moment I deploy one HTTPD web server, by default there is one web page present in it called as index.html. By default that HTML page is present, and this HTML page has some content. Okay, that content will get printed upon sending a request to the server. Okay, now let's see how to send a request. In order to send a request, go to your AWS instance, check the checkbox. After checking this particular checkbox, you will see here a public IP address. Just copy this. Now if I use this public IP address, upon sending the request, this will not work. Sir, why it will not work? Because what is happening right now, understand here, what is happening right now is, see, this is where my EC2 VM is. Okay, I've created one virtual server, and this virtual server, I have named it as, this virtual server, I've named it as VM3, virtual machine 3, VM3. Got it? Now tell me one thing, in your Windows system you have firewall. What is the purpose of firewall? Why firewall is required? Can you please tell me? Security. Somebody said security. So can you please tell me the purpose of firewall? Firewall purpose in Windows. Somebody said security. What security? The purpose of firewall is to monitor and control incoming and outgoing network traffic. Which means in Windows, the purpose of the firewall is whatever incoming request is coming to you and whatever outgoing request should go from this system. whatever incoming request that comes to this particular system and whatever outgoing request response goes from this system, I can control that with the help of firewall. Okay, firewall, okay, controls the incoming and outgoing network traffic based on predetermined security rules. It acts as a barrier between your computer and the potential threats from the internet or local network. Okay, blocking unauthorized access. Now, if somebody is trying to access my system remotely, he wants to gain an access, he cannot do that because the firewall is filtering his incoming request. That incoming request to get connected with my system, I'm blocking that. And in order to block that, I require a firewall. Okay, allowing legitimate traffic. It ensures that trusted programs and services can communicate with the network. Okay, which means whichever services I feel it is trusted, only those services can interact with me. Now, why did we talk about this? Because here in Windows we have something called as firewall. What a firewall does? So this particular system is protected by a firewall. Let's assume this is called as what? A firewall. Okay, this is called as what? A firewall. What it does now, in layman terms, it's telling whatever incoming request is coming, whether to filter out that request or accept that request, this firewall will take care of it. Okay, and whatever things goes out of this system, that also I can control using what? Firewall. By doing this, unauthorized access to my system, I can basically what? Take care of it. But in Linux, we don't have firewall. In Linux, sorry, in AWS, we don't have the concept of firewall here. Instead, AWS has a concept here called a security group. What is the concept it has got? Security group. Now, security group acts like a firewall, wherein in the security group now, I can configure which all incoming request should be allowed and which all incoming request I should not allow. Okay, I can configure that in the security group. By configuring in the security group which all incoming request is allowed, it will allow that incoming request and let me communicate with the server. And whatever outgoing things, okay, from the network, whatever outgoing traffic is there, this is incoming traffic, this is outgoing traffic. That is what we are seeing here in ChatGPT, right? It manages the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic. So whatever outgoing traffic from here has to be, that also can be controlled by me. This is very, very important, right? If I don't control this, what will happen? Tomorrow, anybody will be trying to connect with this particular server remotely, and I can avoid all that. Okay, now why do we require this? We'll talk about security groups in detailed manner when we are discussing about AWS services. That's a part of AWS services lecture. But for now, why this particular request, whatever request I'm making it now, why this request is not getting processed, for what reason this request is not getting processed? Because our security group is blocking that incoming traffic to reach my server for security reasons. So I have to now go to this instance and tell that allow this particular traffic from anywhere, any user can connect this server, you allow that one. And in order to do that, I have to go to the security group and edit that. Is this clear, everyone, now? See, if you just go here, I'm already connecting to my EC2 instance through git bash. Git bash is nothing but an SSH client. Okay, so you notice whenever I launch an instance, when I launch an instance, you observe somewhere by default here, somewhere by default here, it will be when I launch an instance, you will see that SSH enable in security group by default will be ticked. Right? You see this here? Allow SSH traffic. Because this is by default, ticked, I need not do any additional setup. That's why automatically our SSH client was able to get connected with the server. Our SSH client like git bash or any other SSH client could get connected because when I created an instance, this was by default checked, and because of that I could connect with the server. Is this part clear? But Other traffics is not allowed. So I want the other traffics to get connected with this service. Which service? Now, if you look at more detailed manner, your SSH service is running in this VM. And also HTTPD, which is the web server I've installed, that is also running here. These are two different basically services, okay, which is running in my server. Now what happens is every service to run in your server, there is a dedicated port number given. See, port number acts like the unique building number, right? Now in this road, this building number 6 is the one that will help me to locate this building. The next building is 7, the next building is 8. This building numbers are unique, okay? For every plot number, one building exists. Every plot number, one building exists, and that is what I'm calling it as a building number. When I say building number 6, that was nothing but my plot number. Okay, in that plot my building is there. So building is like software, plot number is basically what, like a port number. So whenever you run any service in your VM, any service when you run in your VM, one dedicated port number is allocated. If you want to run this SSH service, there is a port number by default allocated to it is 22. 22 is the port number where the services is running. Now what the services will do, when I connect with some SSH client from my Windows, since this SSH service is running in my VM, virtual machine, right, it will get connected with it on port 22. Now when I want to basically, okay, access the HTTPD service, it runs on the port 80. Port 80 is again a dedicated port number by default allocated to what? The HTTPD service here. This HTTPD service, which is now running its server, to access that HTTPD server, it is running on port number 80. Is this part clear? All of you? Yes? Everybody got this part? So now how do I do that? So I'll go here to the security tab. Select this checkbox and go to the security tab. Once you go to the security tab, you see a security groups. This is just like firewall. Now, we are not going to talk about the outbound rules, but we will look at the incoming traffic. By default, the incoming traffic that is coming is SSH, which is running on port range 22. Got it? That's why I did not do any additional setup. Just when you launch the instance, this particular setup automatically happens in your security group, which allows our SSH client like get bash or any other SSH basically, clients like putty, they can connect with basically what? The server. Okay, because these SSH clients to get connected, we require these things to happen. Okay, the next thing is I want to allow one more incoming traffic to access a service in my server which runs on port 80. How do I do that? So that is where I'm going to configure that by going to inbound rules, click on edit inbound rules, and now I'll click on add rule. So there is an incoming HTTP, okay, traffic, which is running on what? The port 80 anywhere, which means from any client, any browser, from any client, any browser, any machine, any place remotely people are trying to access that, grant this particular access. Save this. By doing this now, what is happening? It is now going to allow the incoming traffic that is coming on port 80. Got it? Since this HTTP service is already running now, now you go back to your instance. You go back to your instance, the instance that is running here, this one, right? This is the instance that is running. Select that and you see your public IP address. Copy this public IP address and you give a try here. Paste this here and see what happens now. Right? It says it works. Now this was the default page for testing purpose when you install HTTPD web server. By default, there is one page present in it in which it works is written down. Okay. Now where is this page? If you want to see that, we can also do that. Is this part clear what I did now? So like this, you have to control your incoming traffics using security groups. So security groups is a very important thing where it will help us to configure which all incoming traffic basically is allowed to access. Okay, so let's move ahead further. Now, the next thing what I'm going to do here is this. I will now go here and, okay, no, see, by default, only SSH port number 22 is added. Okay, now which all services you want to make it accessible, keep configuring it there. Now, HTTPD server is running on this. Tomorrow, I might basically want to get connected with Tomcat. The port number, basically, we will have to, okay, yes. So, we will have to, we'll see all these concepts a bit later. Okay, give me some time because some people are just learning Java. They have not completed my advanced classes. Okay, they have not even completed JDBC concepts in one of the batch. So let me go slowly here. Let's not be in a hurry. Right now, just understand port number is a dedicated number given on your server for a particular service to run, and that service to basically be accessed, we are controlling that using security group, and things is clear here. We will talk about this in more depth manner when we start with AWS services. Okay, now let's continue further. Now do Control C. Now, from where did this page come? See, when you install this HTTPD, okay, server, when you installed, what happened is behind the scene, okay, here there is one /var/www/html. Okay, so you will notice that automatically a directory structure like this got created, which I did not create it. Upon installing HTTPD server, this directory structure got created. I'm now changing to that directory. Okay, and now I'll type vi index.html, index.html, but ensure you're applying to this sudo. Okay, we have to, only a sudo user can basically open and edit this. Is this clear? Insert, and now what I will do is I will type here, okay, some name, whatever name you want to type that and save it. Escape :WQ. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. 1 minute. Huh? Okay. Caps lock was on. So it is, what is that? :WQ. Is this clear, everyone, now? Now see, you go back again and let's just try to see that. Can you see that here now? Okay. See, we are not here bothered about the development activity. Whatever things they have developed it, we have to just push to this particular server. Okay. I hope this part everybody got it. And how does this work? You people are clear with this particular thing. Yes, online students, any doubts? Please tell me. Any doubts? ऑनलाइन वालों बच्चों का कुछ नहीं समझ रहा है. No, sir, no doubt. Okay. Now let's continue further. So this is one of the simple thing, but very importantly now, we have something called a system CTL. This is an interview question again. Okay. So what is the system CTL and what is the purpose of it? Let's try to understand what is the system CTL, by the way. Okay. So system CTL, let's read this thing what has been given. System CTL is a command line utility used to manage and control system services on Linux systems. Services means HTTPD is one service, right? Okay, SSH is another service. Like there's a lot of services. Now I want to start this service. I want to stop this service, correct? I want to enable, disable these services. How do I do that? Okay, I want to start HTTPD service. I want to stop HTTPD server. I want to start this server. Server, service means it is giving some services to the incoming request in layman terms. Whatever request I'm making it to the server, the services are basically what taking that incoming request. It's doing some processing and returning back some response. Is this clear? So in order to start a service like HTTPD, stop a service, or it can be any other service. For now, we know only HTTPD service. Then we use this system CTL. Okay, this command line utility system CTL, okay, is a primary tool to enable, start, stop, restart, enable, disable your services. Example, Start a service that is not currently learning. So sudo systemctl start service name. I want to start a service. I want to stop a service. Firstly, let me stop the service. Which service is running right now? HTTPD service is running. So how do I stop that now? So there are commands that has been given here. Sudo systemctl start HTTPD. Same way, we have here something called as stop HTTPD. Let's do that. Come on, help me out with this. Sudo systemctl. What is that? Stop HTTPD. HTTPD. See what it does now? It has stopped it. How do I know whether it has stopped it? We have already used this command earlier. Sudo service HTTPD status. What it became? So to start a service, stop a service, to enable, disable a service, this CTL command is important. System CTL. One line answer in interview. Be careful about it. How do I start the service now? So I can use a system CTL and I can use here start. Is this clear? Now see whether it is started, whether it is started, active. Did you understand this now? Okay. So later stage you might have lot of services. You might have to start that service. You might have to stop that service. Then remember system CTL in Linux operating system will help us to do that. Okay. Next, if you want to restart a service, then we will just use this. Sometimes you know that, okay, the servers are not taking the changes that has been done by me. And I want to restart that particular server. So how will I do that? So sudo, what we will do? Sudo system CTL restart HTTPD. Right? See this now? It has restarted the service. Fine. So with this now, we have understood how this particular service, you can also reload the configuration of the running services without stopping it. So when you restart, what it does, restart a service, stopping and then starting it again. So what is the meaning of restart? Stop the service, then restart. Now what this does, this will not stop your services. The services are running because see, when you stop and start, some users are accessing my application. So when I stop and start, they'll not be able to access the application for some time. I don't want that to happen. Then you can reload the service. If you do the reload, what will happen? The services will reload without it getting stopped. So people who are accessing the application, they will not get disturbed with it. Okay, is this clear, everyone? Yes, same way you can enable and disable the services. Okay, now with this, we people have understood basically about the system CTL. Okay, now next thing what comes is after system CTL is we people are going to look at some more important commands. Now what are the important commands we people are going to look at? Uh, there are some miscellaneous things that we will have to study here. Okay, one, again, from the interview point of view, we are taking this concept. What do you mean by hard link and soft links or symbolic links? Okay, this is another thing we will have to study. From the interview point of view, we will have to study what is kernel. Okay, in Linux operating system, what is the purpose of kernel? We will have to understand that. That is another important thing. And Linux operating system architecture. These basic questions they might ask you in interview while you're attending interviews as a DevOps engineer. Got it? Okay, so these are sometimes basic questions you might get it on Linux. And some basic commands are there, right? You want to see your RAM usage. Okay, I want to see the usage of my RAM. So just use stop, right? When we use stop, it is going to give me the usage of RAM memory. Be careful about it. Whatever memory you're seeing here, I'm talking about the RAM memory, that what is the usage of it. Fine. The usage of RAM memory you can observe here. Now, if you just take this particular thing and if you want an explanation for it, for example, let's take this. Hold on. Let's take it. See. Okay. So what I will do is I'll just paste this here with a question mark. Observe. So it says PID, that's the process ID. This is the user. Okay, the priority of the process, value between 20 to 19, where the lower value indicates the higher priority, right? Which means it is minus 20 to 19. The lower value, that process will run first. Every application that I open up in my operating system is considered as one process. I open up a video, one process. I open up a text file, another process. I open up basically an audio file, another process. Every process that you open up will get one process ID. Okay, and there are user details who is accessing that particular process. This process has 20, the priority of the process. Priority of the process means which one should run first, which one should run later, right? That will be controlled with this priority. Okay, now minus 20, it is being basically where the lower value indicates a higher priority. Okay, now very important, these all things is of no use for us, but just the percentage of memory, total memory that is being consumed, that is another thing it is going to tell us now. So the memory utilization is what you can here try to understand that. So let us look at now the memory utilization in this one. So memory utilization will ask about this point, the percentage of memory, right? So for our example, okay, this is all of no use, but still if you want to know that, see it is like this. So we had some, see, there are some memory utilization, virtual memory, right? This much memory. So to calculate the percent of the process would need the total physical memory of RAM. That's what I said. This is your RAM memory. If your system, by default, when you create a virtual machine, you get only 8 GB of RAM. The one which I've created now, T2 micro comes with 8 GB of RAM. Okay. For example, if the system has 8 GB of RAM, the calculation would be percentage of memory. Percentage of memory is resident memory. Okay. By total RAM memory into 100. That's the percentage of memory. So it has some calculation and it will tell you how much memory has been. 0.04% of the total system memory is consumed, while the rest of the memory is what? Free. Got it now? Yeah, so this is how you can see the memory utilization, by the way. Okay, so you need not do all this calculation and all, it's of no use for us. Just a command that can help you to understand the memory utilization. Fine. So like this, we have some more commands which we will see that in our further series of lecture. Is my today's class clear for all of you? Yes, so what did we cover today? HTTPD. What is HTTPD? It is a web server or application server. What a web server can do? It can help me to run static application. What is static application? Every time a user sends a request, same response everybody will get. Now this IP address, if I give it to you, everybody will get same response. Pankaj Sir Academy, Pankaj Sir Academy, Pankaj Sir Academy. For everyone, it is basically what? Static response. Okay. So for that, we install HTTPD. After that, then what is security group? It helps us to control the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic. That settings we can do it here for security purpose. In layman terms, it acts like a firewall for us actually. Okay. Then what did we do? After setting that firewall, all the incoming request that is coming HTTP on port 80, we need to now what? Allow that particular incoming traffic and display the response. Okay. So that was completed. Then after that, we just saw where is this HTML file by default present. When you install this HTTPD, there is, okay, there is where what? Right? We could see that CD slash, what did we do? CD slash var www/html. So in that, basically what happens now, an index page is there. So whenever you run your application with the IP address, the first page that runs in your web application is index page. Index page is the first page that automatically launches. Okay, it's like the home page for us in layman terms. Then we edited that index page just for our testing purpose. Okay, that's it guys, my today's class. I'm going to end here. Tomorrow we guys are going to continue from here further. Some more miscellaneous commands are there. We will study that and then we'll start with shell scripting. Why shell scripting is required? We will understand that one. We'll start with shell scripting. We are just taking all your data, we are clubbing it. So moment the clubbing of data is done, you can get the access in your Pankaj Sir Academy app. Is this clear? Okay, class are going easy. अच्छे से समझ आ रहा है? यस. ऑनलाइन वाले बच्चों को समझ आ रहा है? हाँ हाँ हाँ. क्या? पीडीएफ देता हूँ रुको. देखो आपको वही कोड टाइप करना है जो मैं सिखा रहा हूँ. एक्चुअली जो रिकॉर्डेड क्लास में आपको नोट्स ओपन करके वही चीज लिखना है वहां पे. लिखोगे तो और बेटर समझ आएगा. करेक्ट. अगर आप सारा चीज लिखोगे समझ और अच्छे से आएगा. अरे बाप रे, बहुत बड़ी गलती कर दी तब मैंने. देखो सारा प्रैक्टिस करने के बाद ना सेल्फ नोट्स बना लिया करो. दैट इज ऑलवेज हेल्पफुल. बिकॉज बिफोर इंटरव्यू द सेल्फ नोट्स विच हैव रिटर्न ऑन योर ओन विल बी मोर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. राइट. जैसे अभी मैं मेरे रेफरेंस के लिए क्या कर रहा हूं, मैं कुछ ना कुछ पॉइंटर्स रख रहा हूं मैं. करेक्ट. जब आप ये कमेंट्स प्रैक्टिस करो फटाफट लिख लो. एंड देन आफ्टर दैट जस्ट राइट वन लाइन डेफिनेशन फॉर इट विच आई ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन. जस्ट पॉज माई वीडियो. वॉट एवर लैंग्वेज आई एम यूजिंग टू टेल सेम लैंग्वेज यू यूज इट एंड प्रिपेयर ऑफ द नोट्स. ये आपके लिए काफी फायदेमंद होगा और वैसा करने से चीजें याद रहेगी. गॉट इट. बड़ी टाइम डबल लग जाएगा बट चीजें याद रहेगी. मेरा नोट्स भी मैं दूंगा. राइट. बट आगे जाके सारा सेटिंग्स रहेगा. अब उसमें नोट्स कैसे दूं मैं? AWS सर्विसेज में सारा सेटिंग्स रहने वाला है. तो सेटिंग्स आपको वो करते जाना तब याद होगा. अब जैसे EC2 इंस्टेंस हमने 10 बार लॉन्च कर दिया तो स्टेप्स याद है. करेक्ट. अब सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप हम एक बार गए, वैसे ही 10 बार करते जाओगे तो स्टेप्स याद आ जाएगा. तो आगे जाके ये सारा चीज हमें UI पे एक्सप्लोर करना है इन AWS सर्विसेज. गॉट इट एवरीवन? या. तो वहां पे तो नोट्स होगा नहीं. नोट्स दूंगा भी मैं तो वो इट विल बी लाइक अ टेक्स्ट बुक थिंग. तो यहाँ पे मैं एक्सप्लेन जो करूंगा वही नोट्स होने वाला है. और आपको मेरा एक्सप्लेनेशन नोट्स में उतारना है इन लेमैन टर्म्स. ओके. एंड ऑलवेज स्पीक इन लेमैन टर्म्स इन इंटरव्यू. दैट इज ऑलवेज गोइंग टू हैव हाई एडवांटेज rather than giving some definitions there. Okay. Right.